Hi, fam. Hello. So, check it out. I have a new book out. So, if you've just joined me, my name is Vangile Makwakwa. I help mainly women of color heal ancestral money trauma so they can fall in love with their bank accounts, increase income, and live their best lives. And the name of my new book is called What's Your Money Personality? Changing the way Black families manage their finances, right? And I just thought, let me take a moment to talk about the book, but to also read the introductory chapter of the book, because I feel like the introduction kind of gives you insight on what the book is about. So, in this book, I'm actually looking at 10 different money archetypes that we have within our families. So, this is my argument. And as I explain in the book, none of these archetypes are set in stone, right? The archetypes are just an introduction into family dynamics within Black families and how the trauma, external trauma from oppression, even patriarchy, just systemic oppression would have impacted us in terms of our families and our family dynamics, and also just how internal trauma of just being different personality types, people behaving differently would have impacted us, and all that would have then shaped our personalities in different ways. Different people would have reacted to trauma in different ways and still react to trauma in different ways, and how that starts to impact your personality and how that personality profile would have an impact on your financial behavior. And I also explain how you can heal those profiles. I talk about how each of the profiles interact with each other in marriage, within families, the children that you're most likely to birth if you are a particular profile, and why that would be, right? So I thought this would be great. Let's just start with the introduction. I'm only going to read the introduction. If you want to read the rest of the book, you'll have to buy it, right? So, introduction. I am fortunate in that I am not the first in my family to have attended university. And by family, I mean in the traditional African sense, including extended families such as aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents, for instance. My dad is a pharmacist and my mom is a nurse, and both my maternal and paternal families include professionals such as teachers, doctors, nurses, and engineers. So I was exposed to a variety of career options from a young age. However, this exposure also made me aware that obtaining an education does not necessarily lead to financial freedom. My relationship with money was shaped mainly by my maternal family, simply because I spent more time with them as a child and in my teens, even though my father paid for most of my education. Throughout my childhood, I observed the adults around me struggle with finances. They never seemed to have enough money, living paycheck to paycheck, which meant that emergencies caused great anxiety in my family. I noticed too how adults' behaviors changed when they discussed money, always with a sense of fear, frustration, and anger. As a teenager, I became hyper aware of the role of money in our family dynamics, the cause of much of the conflict between my mother and her siblings, my aunt and uncles, and her mother, my maternal grandmother. In my childhood, my mother was the primary provider in my maternal family, taking care of 3 adults and 4 children, her 2 daughters and 2 nephews. And yet, despite being the breadwinner, she still felt unappreciated and resentful, and believed that people only tolerated her because of what she was doing for them financially. As I got older, I started to understand that even though my mom had a helper, my grandmother and great-grandmother also helped by looking after us, cooking and making sure that the house was running well. Never once did my mom have to worry about our safety because she knew that we were well looked after. As a child, I witnessed my mom's explosive arguments with family members about money. It was a recurring theme, and sometimes it even got physical. It was scary to witness such events. And in the process, I learned that money causes fights, and I started associating money with arguments and tension. By the time I was in my teens, talking about money or handling money felt unsafe. When my uncle came back from exile in the early 90s, my mom helped him get set up and asked my uncle to step in and look after the family. And so it was that in my teens, and the family dynamics changed. My mom became unemployed and suddenly lost decision-making power and respect in the family. And my uncle became the breadwinner and was given most of the decision-making power. I witnessed as my uncle, who earned a substantial salary as an electrical engineer, struggling to support six of us, my grandmother, my mother, two adult cousins, my sister and me. Although my uncle was loved, he was not always respected, and many family members felt he should be doing more financially. I saw how he would buy furniture for his house only for his younger brother to take it and sell it. My grandmother would often intervene and ask my uncle to forgive his younger brother, but this happened repeatedly. And I cannot imagine how my uncle must have felt. When I was in grade 12, my maternal grandmother passed away, and my uncle resigned from his job, leaving us in his house, which he owned, to rent a place far from us. I realized later that he had resigned simply to free himself from the financial burden of supporting the family. With my grandmother gone, he felt he could finally live for himself. I didn't know it then, but my grandmother's passing signaled the end of my maternal family unit, because the two people who'd been the glue holding us together, because the two people who'd been the glue holding us together, my granny and uncle, were no longer able to. I think my uncle was scared to kick us out of his house and feared setting boundaries because he thought the family would stop loving him and react in the same way they had with my mother. In the end, it was simply easier for him to quit his job and use his unemployment status to force all the adults to support themselves. Growing up in this environment was challenging, with constant fights, sometimes physical, about money. My mother was vocal in her resentment to the extent that my uncle banned my sister and me from openly talking about money. The constant conflict and persistent anxiety about money affected our mental health. I was depressed throughout my teens and would even run away from home, disappearing for days on end. I observed how some members of the family protected themselves financially and dealt with our financial trauma by avoiding all financial responsibility for themselves and others, attending only important family functions. Other well-educated and able-bodied adults never left home and relied entirely on the main breadwinner to take care of them financially and emotionally. As a result, they never had a voice in family decisions. Even with their degrees and diplomas, they battled to earn a living. These differing personalities would often clash when it came to money. When it was time for me to choose a career, I decided to study finance at the University of Cape Town, 2,000 kilometers away, in order to earn my own money and avoid the conflict that inevitably came with it. Growing up in my maternal family, I had seen the people I loved continue to struggle financially, with no knowledge of how to manage their finances or make their money grow. I was also terrified that my family would expect me to take care of them as soon as I began earning a salary, because that's what I had seen happen to both my mom and my uncle. After graduating with an honors degree in finance, I thought my financial future would be secure. However, when I started working as a mining and energy analyst, I spent my first paycheck within days and struggled to hold on to money. Although I had a good understanding of finance theory, I found it challenging to apply what I had learned in my own life. I had a deep understanding of finance theory and could talk about anything from budgeting to economics, supply and demand, inflation, derivatives, shares, and investing, but I was struggling financially. And even though I had 2 other jobs, I decided to go traveling so that I could earn US dollars or pounds and pay off my student loans. I found work on a cruise ship and thought it would be an easier way to save money since my rent and food were paid for. Instead, I ended up becoming a shopaholic, and despite drafting several budgets, I found it difficult to save money. I later decided to write my graduate management admissions test, commonly referred to as the GMAT, and got accepted into the Simmons School of Management in Boston, Massachusetts to do my Master's of Business Administration, an MBA. At the time, I believed that my money issues were related to education and that a master's degree would change my life and my relationship with money. I graduated with $60,000 in debt and started suffering panic attacks whenever I had to handle or talk about money. At the same time, my uncle called to inform me that the family had been waiting for me to graduate and start earning money so that I could look after them. I was only 25 at the time. I had no kids and no husband, and I was being asked to take responsibility for 7 adults and 5 children. I started a business, but it failed because I found myself unable to charge for my services, invoice people, or talk about money. I even watched The Secret. I tried visualization techniques, recited affirmations, and practiced gratitude, but nothing seemed to work. There seemed to be no way out of my financial crisis. It was at this point that a friend introduced me to Vipassana meditation, a meditation practice where you take a vow of silence for 10 days to focus on meditating. During this time, I saw how every thought triggered an emotion and sensation in my body. I realized too that I spent most of my time worrying about money and finally understood what that worry was doing to my body. After Vipassana, I read theses on behavioral finance and economics and focused on understanding the link between emotional intelligence and money. I started writing blogs, creating money exercises, and sharing them. People started coming to me for money coaching, and the more shifts they saw, the more people they referred. Finally, I landed a publishing deal for my first book, Heart, Mind, and Money, Using Emotional Intelligence for Financial Success, and paid off $60,000 in debt in 3.5 years. And so it was then that I became debt-free, went back to traveling, became a nomad, and started running my business on the road. However, I found myself struggling to increase my income and lived in constant fear of my maternal family turning to me for money. This fear wasn't unfounded. However, because my uncle and one of my aunts, both of whom were career professionals, often alluded to the fact that it was now my turn to look after the family. My aunt had even tried to shame my sister and me at a family gathering for setting financial boundaries. I would have nightmares of being rejected by my family, enduring fights about money, and being shouted at for not doing enough. I would wake up shaking and scared, convinced that the only way to keep myself safe from the fighting and to be loved by my family was to make very little money, so I could always say I don't have any money. After all, both my mom and my uncle had gotten out of the cycle of family drama by quitting their jobs. I realized that my view of family was tainted by violence and the trauma around money, and this was affecting my ability to grow financially. The mindset that had helped me get out of debt couldn't help me create a consistent stream of income, grow my business, or create passive streams of income. I started questioning why I felt the way I did about making money and how my family dynamics and history impacted my earning potential in businesses. I went back to my research on emotions and money and noticed that finance and economics thesis looked at money through an individual, Western lens and rarely explored family dynamics around money, especially in Black families. Of course, this made sense because traditional finance and economics works on the premise that we are rational human beings. And as a result, we make rational financial decisions. But the reality is that humans are also emotional beings, especially when it comes to family and friends. That's why I found myself struggling with financial boundaries and focusing on wealth creation when it came to my family. Setting boundaries it seemed like I was risking family rejection and going against tradition. It also became obvious to me that most financial advice ignores family dynamics, especially in Black families, where emotions, ancestors, racial trauma, and family ties play a crucial role in financial decisions. And so I started to realize there was a need for conversations around money and family dynamics, especially in marginalized communities, and decided to focus on this in my coaching and writing. It wasn't until a friend suggested that some of my fears might be ancestral that I began to exploring my own family history and ancestral trauma. While researching epigenetics inheritance, I found studies showing that we inherit more than our looks from our ancestors. We also inherit their memories and thought patterns and store these in the body, which affects our nervous systems and psyche. These memories and patterns are then triggered by certain events in our lifetimes. And when they are activated, we repeat ancestral cycles. So it was possible that some of my money fears were inherited and were in fact not mine. But it was up to me to break those cycles. To do that, I needed to work with the body, regulate my nervous system, use my education and knowledge of money, know my ancestors, and delve into the spiritual realm. I intuitively understood that healing my relationship with money was a holistic endeavor, and that there was a link between the body, the mind, the spiritual, and the physical. And so I went home and asked my mom, who is a healer and a herbalist, to teach me how to patla, to communicate with my ancestors, the individuals in my bloodline who came before me, and how to recite our clan names. And she, in turn, helped me understand my family history. She explained that one of my female ancestors was doing cesarean sections long before hospitals were built in South Africa, that my maternal great-grandfather was one of the most well-known healers of his time, and that I was named after my great-great-grandmother, the one who held most of the healing gifts in our bloodline, and that I could call on my ancestors to teach all they knew about making money, healing the body, the womb, and our bloodline in the spiritual plane. She explained that her gift as a herbalist and a healer came from simply communicating with the ancestors and asking them to guide her on herbs and access the wisdom in her DNA. My sister is a Sangoma, or shaman, and I started doing her courses in which she teaches people how to build relationships with their ancestors and so connect deeper with their ancestors and ask for guidance. Through these experiences, I came to understand that I was truly the sum total of those who came before me, and that who I am today has been impacted by the lives I lived in other lifetimes and galaxies before I came to this plane. Yes, my deceased family members no longer walk this plane, but that doesn't mean they have completely gone. They exist in the spiritual realm and would continue building our relationship, and I could continue building our relationship and ask for help. I realized too that this relationship was a symbiotic one. I could help my ancestors heal, and they in turn could help me heal and pass on knowledge and wisdom so that I could make changes and help our bloodline do better in the future. The truth is, these family dynamics predated me and my parents' generation. So I would need help from the people with whom it started. Being able to talk to my ancestors and tell them my grievances has been life-changing. And at times, I have had what I can only call miraculous experiences. I called on my ancestors and spirit guides to walk with me and to help me understand how our family got here and how I could heal myself and break the cycle. And my ancestors channeled very specific meditations for me to write, record, and practice so that I may heal them, myself, and versions of me across lifetimes. I started to see how money and setting income goals would take me back to my painful past by triggering the childhood parts of me that were struggling to integrate or process my family trauma with money. This would make me feel like a kid again, making illogical decisions and panicking when I made more money than usual. What I saw as a child was that money leads to arguments, and arguments scared me. Most children fear conflict. So when I had to deal with money as an adult, I would be transported back to those painful memories and start shaking and freaking out. My reaction would be to go into fight or flight mode, which would impact both my body and my mental state. The only examples I had seen on how to stay safe with money was to get rid of money or not make money at all. So I would end up spending it as quickly as possible, energetically blocking it, or refusing income generating activities, which led to me recreating my family's financial patterns and repeating the cycle of money trauma in my adulthood. I started recording my own guided meditations, and the more I followed these, the more realizations I had about trauma, and the more I started to change the way I behaved with money. A lot of these meditations are unique to my courses, particularly the Money Magic course, and involve us calling on our ancestors and or spirit guides to help us heal specific traumas and wounds that sit in the body and energy plane. We in turn share our pain and fears with our ancestors, and they see how their actions when they were alive contributed to these traumas and wounds in this present moment. Our ancestors then begin to heal and give guidance to us and other family members in dreams or waking life. Unfortunately, I am not an expert on how these messages are delivered. I just know everyone receives them in different ways. When we heal ourselves and go into our bodies, our nervous system starts to regulate. We breathe deeper. Our heart rate starts to slow down. Our digestion improves radically. We find it easier to pause and relax. In the space of relaxation, we reflect more, look at situations from different angles, become less reactionary, and in so doing, start to react differently to the people around us and to situations that arise, including financial situations. When we react differently to how we've been taught to react to money and to family dynamics or other situations, we start to change the way we behave with money and with our families. And as our family dynamics start to change for the better, we start to feel more supported, which increases our sense of confidence within ourselves, which changes the way we show up in our environment, which alters the way we see ourselves, which leads to increased income and investments. Over time, I started sharing these meditations with other entrepreneurs and some family members on my paternal and maternal side. And before I knew it, I was discussing wealth creation and womb work with my aunts, cousins, and siblings. My mother even gifted my sister and me land as an investment for future generations and asked us to build apartment buildings there so we could have passive income for the future. I thus went from being someone who didn't dare talk about money with her family to one who hosts retreats for her family so they can heal their money and relationships. But for this to happen, I had to understand the persona or money profile I had adopted in order to survive the trauma within my family and how that influenced how I interacted with family members. My clients also experienced powerful changes, and we realized that the guidance we were working on was not just about money. It was also about healing ourselves and our relationships, which ultimately led to a better relationship with money. The more I did the meditations, and by default, the ancestral work on money, the more I was led to other healing modalities, past life regression therapy, plant medicines, and a variety of other practices. And I began to understand the ways that trauma plays out within families and how it affects our relationship with money. This journey of money, self-discovery, and personal growth has taken me down many paths, including behavioral finance and economics, meditation, communicating with my ancestors. I come from a lineage of sangomas and shamans, acupuncture, spirit guides, tantra, yin, vinyasa yoga, tantra and yoni massages, tantric massages and yoni massages, vipassana meditation, weekly full body massages, Chine Tsang, which are abdominal healing massages, Kasai Natsang, which are genital healing massages, trauma coaching with different coaches, conventional therapy, breath work, my mother's herbs and healing methods, sweat lodges, ayahuasca, psychoactive, which is a psychoactive tea, cacao ceremonies, mushroom journeys, cannabis oil, past life regression therapy, epigenetics research, polyvagal theory, which is a study of the nervous system's responses to the environment, living in ashrams, EFT tapping, which is emotional freedom technique, essentially acupuncture without needles, traveling, fasting, sometimes eating only grapes and drinking only water for 21 days, and taking a vow of silence for days, weeks, months on end so that I can go within and understand myself and the way money trauma works within the body. My study of ancestral money trauma is part of a body of work that I've developed in my online school, Wealthy Money Academy, over the past 8 years. And it's helped me not only increase my own income and start buying properties, but also helped hundreds of clients, particularly women of color, increase their income and savings, heal their ancestral money trauma, and change their family dynamics. My work on ancestral trauma is about understanding how trauma travels through the bloodline and across lifetimes, and how that trauma impacts us mentally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, and financially in the present. I am not a psychologist, no, or a sangoma, even though some clients may think that I am one. I work with ancestors predominantly through guided meditations and breathwork meditations that are channeled by my ancestors and guides. In those meditations, people learn to connect with their ancestors and learn to feel the sensations and emotions in their bodies. The meditations take people through past life and present day memories into the Akashic plane, a metaphysical library of all experiences, past and present, in order to heal ancestral patterns and access ancestral wisdom. If your ancestors need more specific rituals performed, they often let you know on who to consult or talk to in the meditations. I also use my degree in finance and my MBA to help people start and scale businesses and create additional streams of income. And this is heavily supported by the emotional and spiritual work I do in the meditations. One thing I've learned is that my family story is not unique, and emotions are particularly charged when it comes to family and friends. Our loved ones' reactions or lack of reaction to our success can deeply impact us. And we often take on certain money profiles or personas that help us survive within our families. But the identities we develop out of survival don't always serve us in the long run and can, in fact, hold us back from building wealth, creating healthy family relationships, and building generational wealth. Experiencing trauma can have a profound impact on our family dynamics. This can then extend beyond our family and start to impact our money profile, our personal profile, and even our mission in life. This is because our family is often where we first experience trauma, and this trauma can shape how we respond and how we operate in the world. Each profile has a specific mission within the family, and understanding this is crucial when it comes to unpacking how different family members respond to trauma. In this book, I explore the role of each family member and how their role or lack thereof can affect how they respond to trauma. It's important to note that each profile outlined here has a unique way of responding to money and finances, and this can have an influence on how a family grows financially. Once we understand each person's money profile, we begin to see that each has a different role and a particular way of contributing to the family's success. Unfortunately, society often places the most value on those who bring in the most money, but not everyone is cut out for this. Some profiles are just not meant to follow the traditional path to success. This is where things get tricky. When we praise one type of intelligence, such as academic intelligence, we risk overlooking the special intelligence of other profiles. This can lead to a sense of inadequacy and even trauma for those that don't fit the conventional mode. This is especially true for Black people who have endured centuries of trauma through slavery, colonization, and apartheid. In many cases, Western ways of thinking and being are elevated above all else, leaving some profiles behind and affecting their relationship with money and self-worth. Overall, understanding how trauma impacts our family dynamics as well as our money profile is essential for creating a healthy and prosperous family unit. It's also important to recognize and celebrate the distinctive intelligence of each profile to ensure that everyone is able to thrive. In 2020, when I started writing this book, I shared a list of money profiles within Black families on Facebook. The fixer, the destroyer, the runaway, the eternal child, or the spoilbrat, to help others understand the ways trauma plays out within their own families, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. I realized I was dealing with a significant and widespread phenomena that needed more research, exploration, and discussion. Thank you for sitting in on the introduction. So, this is the book. If you enjoyed the introduction and you would love to learn more, I promise you it is absolutely awesome. I'm not just saying this because I am the author of the book. I'm getting feedback from people and people are saying it feels like a healing journey. But yeah, the name of the book is What's Your Money Personality? How Changing the Way Black Families Manage Their Finances, right? And the author is me, Vangile Makwakwa. You can find this book at all major bookstores nationally in South Africa, wherever you are. My publishers tell me even the small little mom and pop stores in remote villages are likely to have it. They're making sure that it gets everywhere. But definitely, if you're based in South Africa, it's been out since the 20th of October 2023, and it's in all major bookstores. Definitely start off at Exclusive Books or Wordsworth and check it out. You can also look at Takealot if you're based in South Africa. You can find the book in ebook format. It's been available on Amazon Kindle since the 15th of October 2023. It's available on all major ebook platforms like Google Books as well. I'm drawing a blank as to other ebook platforms, but it's on there. So definitely go check it out. If you are based outside of South Africa, the good news is the book is available internationally. It will be available for order in various bookstores internationally: the UK, the USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc. All that information is it will be available starting November 6, 2023. Again, November 6, 2023. You walk into a bookstore, you ask them, please, can I have this book? Please, can you order it? And if there's enough demand, you can also just ask them, please, can you stock it in store? They can easily order it. So it's available internationally starting November 6, 2023. If you want to know more information about how to purchase the book, then definitely go to the link in the bio, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go to the link in the description. If you're watching this on other social media platforms, the link in the description, or you can just go to wealthy-money.com/money personality, one word, wealthy-money.com/money personality. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on the book and to hear what you got from reading the book, and also from how you've profiled yourself. What is your money personality? In here, I also tell you how to heal various wounds of each personality, and how when that personality is healed and starts moving into what I call their golden shadow archetype, how they are most likely to make money, in terms of ways that they are most likely to make money and build generational wealth, because each profile is capable of building generational wealth. But the problem comes when we have been taught that every profile has to follow the same path to success and the same ways of making money, and that is so not true. Some people are just never ever going to follow the traditional ways of making money, and when they try to fit themselves into that mold, those money profiles will get stifled and will actually block their financial success. I am actually one of those money profiles. I couldn't understand for the life of me why, when I was trying to get a job and work at a job, I couldn't make money. But once I started to understand my profile, and when I work with clients and they understand their profiles, it's like, whoa, this is awesome. They can make money in different ways. And then there are some profiles for whom this way, like the traditional path of making money, is fantastic and it will work for them. And 9 to 5 is actually one way that they can build wealth, right? Getting degrees, doing all of the things. So just understanding who you are and your core wound and why you react the way that you react with money can be a game changer. So again, this is the book, What's Your Money Personality? I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on this. Cheers!